Hey, it's Holly. Welcome to the 25 Days of Christmas here at Living It Country. Today we have a very special Christmas home tour, and I would like to welcome Janet Clark from Janet Clark at Home here, sharing her 2022 Christmas home tour. So without further ado, grab a cup of coffee and let's tour today's beautiful home.
Welcome to my Christmas home tour. Let's get started in the kitchen. My kitchen hutch is filled with my ironstone collection, and it's topped with a French drying rack that I built. Along with the usual hanging baskets, I've added bundles of dried greens and draped an orange slice garland. Below I have a vintage recipe box full of old recipe cards. It seems like it is just waiting for someone to find the perfect cookie recipe. In a bowl, I have a collection of rolling pins. And then on the back of one of the cubbies, I applied some of those vintage recipes using starch. On this wall is a plate rack that I also built. It is filled with a collection of ironstone platters and a few cutting boards. I added this grain sack wall pocket. I made that out of a $2 tote bag that I got at Hobby Lobby. The kitchen shelves are filled with my red and white transferware dishes. On the top, I have a faux greenery garland, and I added in dried eucalyptus and baby's breath, and then added a gingerbread cookie garland. I have a jar of vintage cookie cutters that I've placed next to my canisters of flour and sugar. Behind the sink, I have a small Christmas tree and an old metal egg basket. On this wall next to the stove, I've added another small tree in a basket and added gingerbread cookie ornaments. On this wall, I've just added a little bit of greenery in an old milk bottle. As we head into the family room, you can see I added a basket of greens under this small table. And on the coffee table are more fresh greens with this little vignette of reindeer in a tree. This urn on the fireplace is filled with fresh tree clippings, and then I added some ornaments to those. I made these stockings out of thrift store sweaters and some old flour sacks that I found at an estate sale. And then I just added some red ribbon to the top. These little houses were made from inexpensive paper mache houses that I found at Hobby Lobby. It was a lot of fun to add the little details to these. For a little coziness, I brought in this deconstructed French chair to place between the fireplace and the Christmas tree. I built this French champagne crate to hold the Christmas tree. I used old wood that I found at Restore. I don't like to spend a lot of money on my Christmas decor, so the tree is filled with a lot of handmade items. I have sheet music paper chain, these paper stars made from coin envelopes, and orange slices. And actually, I still have more to make, so it's not quite done. I recently redid this cabinet, and this is my first year I've gotten to decorate it for Christmas. The centerpiece of the cabinet is this antique bust that I found at an antique store. I love adding all the little details when I decorate. There's an antique Christmas corsage on the top hat, vintage ornaments, this swan planter with a bell, a vintage bell around the neck, and a paper mache bell that I made. The top shelf, the vintage planters are filled with more vintage ornaments. I created this bell garland with spun cotton bells, and then the two large bells are the paper mache bells that I made. And here's one more view of that champagne crate that I built. And now we're going to head into the dining room. The dining room is decorated in white, silver, and gold. I made the sheet music scroll that is hanging on the mirror, and it was the inspiration for the angel themed decor in the room. This creamy white tree is a favorite of mine. It is filled with silver ornaments and accented with sheet music and burlap ribbon. The tree is topped with a vintage teapot that is pouring out silver bells. The mantelscape started with a base of tree branches. I added white flowers, silver leaves, and more burlap ribbon. The table is filled with candles until it's time to bring out the china. I love the warm glow that the candles bring on these darker days. My dress form is dressed as an angel. I love that she watches over our Christmas dinner. This antique baker's rack is topped with a little Christmas scene. Bottle brush trees in ironstone pitchers and a little Christmas church on a cake plate. Vintage paper birds have landed on the shelves, and a dove is holding a Joy sheet music banner that I made. In the entry, an angel costume, ice skates, and a vintage muff hang on the antique hook rack. On the table is a little tinsel feather tree that is filled with bird ornaments. Thank you so much for letting me share my home with you today. I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas.